What's up? Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I'm Morrow, your storyteller for today, and with me we have some more RPG horror stories. I've been having so much fun running my games and teaching my friends D&D. I feel so elated to finally have a place to play D&D with my friends and stuff, and teach my friends D&D. I thought that playing D&D with my friends would turn me to a forever DM, but Micah and Mary actually been DMing as well, so I get to play as a player in their games too. If I can ever recommend anybody to try DMing, it is literally just to let your DM friends play as a player as well, because you DMs also want to play as a player too. Anyway, enough talk about me. Let's get some RPG horror stories for today. AITA for not letting my D&D players run a horse brothel. No, you're not the a-hole for not letting your players run a horse brothel. What kind of question is that? I DM for a party of 9, so needless to say, things are a little hectic. Party of 9? Dude, I tried running a party of 8 recently for like a big brawl game. Oh my god, it was difficult. Listen, best number to run for players is what's comfortable for you. Don't run 9 people. The amount of crosstalk that's gonna happen and the chaos is just, dude, it's just too much. I don't recommend it. I recommend anywhere between 3 to 6 players. Maybe 4 or 5 is like the ideal count. So our party's Druid came up with an idea to get them some easy coin. I was caught a little off guard. My party just made it to one of the largest cities in my homebrew world. Think Waterdeep. The Druid asked me if, since there are a lot of people in the city, would the market for people who are interested in a brothel service be bigger? Naturally, I said yes, assuming he planned on going to a brothel. He instead offered to work in a brothel for a day, assuring the owner maximum profit. With a high charisma roll, the owner agreed to give the Druid a room. The Druid then revealed his hand. This whole time, he planned on using conjure animals in combination with wild shape to summon a militia of horses with the sole purpose of pleasuring the freaks of the city. This shook me to my core. As soon as the Druid was trying to reveal their big plan, you know what you should have said? Nay. I stole that joke from one of the replies in the comments section. Gotta be honest, this wasn't an original joke, but it's funny. But oh my god, listen, if you have a player doing something as crazy as that and it makes you feel uncomfortable, it's perfectly okay. No, in fact, it's perfectly normal. It's perfectly appropriate for you to say no to crazy ideas that players want to run. Because listen, some ideas, if it makes you uncomfortable, it's not gonna be worth it. And I hope, somebody else called him out on this. I really hope. Because, I mean, the only worst thing would be is if the rest of the party was, like, perfectly on board with this plan. And that sounds insane to me. After almost an hour of arguing with my players, who all jumped on the bandwagon against me. Ah, never mind. Why are they doing this? What is the point? What is the reason for it all in the first place? Listen, if your players really want to run a horse brothel and it makes you feel uncomfortable, you are allowed to say no. But the fact that the other players are on board defending the Druid with this really strange, out-of-pocket idea, and it doesn't make him feel even remotely uncomfortable from that sort of thing, is just, dude, what kind of players do you have? I gotta ask you, what kind of players do you got? Do they all share the same fetishes and weird kinky things together? Like, are they all into horses? Are all of you players into horseplay or something like that? What's going on here? My Druid told me he was putting his hoof down. Ugh. And I was ruining his fun. Oh, you're ruining his fun. The DM is ruining your fun. Have you considered maybe your DM is uncomfortable you running a horse brothel where people are there to do horseplay with really? I just don't want to have to say the words. First of all, because I'm gonna have to censor it because of YouTube. Second of all, because I'm probably gonna clap down from this video alone from just mentioning this in the title alone. If you're not happy with the DM not running some sort of weird, gross fetish thing for you because it ruins your fun, guess what? The DM is entitled to say no. Actually, in fact, I think most DMs should be saying no, especially to something that makes them feel extremely uncomfortable. If your DM says no, maybe there's a reason why they're saying no. Maybe you should reflect back on, was this a good idea? Is this even remotely funny? Is this even remotely something I should commit to? Is this a hill I want to die on? He said that if I didn't let him get that bag, he would permanently leave the campaign. Still, I refused, and he stormed out of the room and later blocked my phone number, ending a 6-year friendship. AITA. DM, no, you're not the a-hole. In the slightest, not even a bit. There is reasoning. Sorry, that's a bad joke. There's nary a reason for you to be the a-hole in this situation. You put your foot down when the Druid put their hoof down, and you told the Druid nay. And they didn't like that you said nay. They didn't like it so much they said you're ruining their fun by not allowing them to run some weird, creepy fetish nonsense where there's bestiality, or I guess this is considered bestiality, I'm guessing. Yeah, this is the kind of content, if that makes you uncomfortable, you are perfectly allowed to say no. In fact, I think the Druid gave you a out for not having to deal with this, because I mean, the Druid decided themselves to end a 6-year friendship over you saying no over the weird kinky fetish things. They decided to end the friendship because of that. Then you know what? Good riddance. That opens up another spot for a player that does want to play stuff that's not going to ruin the friendship over being told no over weird kinky fetish stuff. I think that's perfectly normal. You don't have to worry about it. You're not the a-hole in the slightest. The fact that the other players actually supported this Druid is concerning to me, very much so, but it is what it is. Anyway, you're not the a-hole. Let's move on. Accused of railroading by a player seemingly out of nowhere. This happened a few days ago and it's weighing heavy on my mind, so I decided to post here. There are 4 players: Max, Artie, Sarah, and Jane. Fictional names, of course, as well as me as DM. This is one of my first campaigns with an original story. Previously I DM'd official campaigns as well as a few original one-shots to build up confidence. Following the last one-shot, I thought it would be cool to move on to a longer campaign. I pitched the idea of a horror campaign centered around a haunted mansion, which people seemed very enthusiastic about, most of us being avid horror fans. After session 0 and some prep time on my part, we all met up to play. The campaign began with a party meeting up at a harvest festival in town. They're hanging out and talking and drinking, and eventually without realizing it, they wander off, away from the festivities. They find themselves on the outskirts of a town standing in front of a large, dilapidated home. No other residents in sight. Artie suggests heading inside to check it out. The others are more reserved. Max puts his foot down and clearly says, "I'm not going in." They discuss a little and decide to simply head back home. Fine by me. That night they all share the same dream of the house, which they realize when talking about it the next morning. Artie once again suggests going there and checking it out. Sarah and Jane are also on board as they're rattled by the dream and think something is up, but Max still doesn't want to go. In the end, they agree to not go and instead have a drink at a bar, think it will help them forget about the house. Okay, well, everybody seems to be really interested, but Max, for whatever reason, has like a bit of a pushback response from this whole thing. I don't know why. I'm assuming you probably talked with Max out of game about it and told him, "Hey Max, it's kind of a lead to the next big adventure, the next big plot hook. You know, the thing we agreed on with like horror themes and everything that we talked about session 0, the campaign. You should probably take a lead on. Max, please take the hint, Max." As they make their way to the bar, I narrate that as they get lost in conversation, they once again wind up at the house, as if drawn there by something. Before anyone can even say anything, Max once again goes, "I'm not going in." At this point, I'm a little frustrated, and clearly the other players are too. They all try to convince him to go inside, but he puts his foot down. Eventually, the other players decide to go inside without him and tell Max to keep watch. I narrate both the events inside and outside of the home, and explain that while it's only been a few minutes of looking around dusty cabinets for the party inside, for Max, nighttime has fallen. Despite his friends being inside the house for hours and showing no signs of life, he still doesn't want to go inside. At this point, try to come up with a different way of getting him inside. I mean, what else am I gonna do? Have him stand outside the entirety of the campaign? You probably should have just spoke up and told, "Hey Max, listen, the story's inside. Can you just join the rest of the party? Because I got a whole thing planned out. Can you just join in?" I feel like Max is the kind of guy that just doesn't get the hint, or he gets the hint, but he's the kind of guy that if he is told to do something, he will do the opposite of that. And in a D&D campaign or TTRPG campaign, when the DM is trying to give you a hook and a main quest and a story to go explore and interact with, this is the last thing you want from a player. Somebody that just 180s everything that you want to do. Going to the left, you find something interesting. The player chooses to go right because he doesn't want to follow the interesting thing. And I think at this point, Max might just be anti-fun or maybe he doesn't understand the point of following the story. I have no idea. I describe Max becoming tired, yawning and struggling to keep his eyes open. I describe the house sort of coming alive. The front door opening gently, a dim light illuminating the entrance hall, and faint noises coming from inside. I describe an overwhelming urge to enter, and his feet move on its own. I figured maybe he wanted something to force him inside so he could RP someone smarter than a horror movie protagonist instead of having to go on his own free will. Turns out that was wrong, apparently, because Max cuts me off mid-narration to tell me once again that he is not going inside, and before I can even say anything else, accuses me of railroading the party, and him especially. He starts going off about how the shared dream and directing them to the house instead of the bar was lame, and forcing them to do what I want him to do. I'm kind of insulted by this, to be honest. But mostly I'm confused. It's a haunted house story. That's what we agreed upon. Well, clearly Max knows better. Alright, Max, what do you want to do then? Just go to the bar and drink some more? Right? Well, okay. You go do that for one day. What do you want to do for the next day, Max? Do you want to go to the haunted house? Oh, no, you just want to go drink again at the bar? Gotcha. Right, Max, it's the third day. What would you like? A bar again? Really, Max? You're not going to go to the agreed horror story that everybody agreed on part of session 0? That's what you want to do? You agreed upon that as well? Max, for whatever reason, thinks he's being railroaded, but instead the DM is just giving him obvious hints that this is where the story is going, and if you want to join part of the fun, you go inside the house, Max. Because that's what you guys agreed upon. What do you want to do, Max? What do you think you want to do otherwise? If that's railroading, if trying to hint you towards the house that y'all agreed upon is railroading, then what isn't railroading, Max? Going to the tavern the whole time, every single time to drink? Wow, what a fun story of just drinking. There's so much story you can have of just going to the tavern every single day and doing nothing. Because apparently, found the story is considered railroading. Found the hook is considered railroading. The haunted house experience, the haunted house campaign that y'all guys agreed upon at session 0 is supposedly railroading. I don't know what this guy wants. I have no idea. I don't think this guy knows what he wants, but he's just blatantly saying things railroading just because they're railroading. Max, if you want a different kind of campaign or you want a different kind of story, then why don't you DM? Why don't you speak up ahead of time and say, hey, can I in this campaign do this instead of that? Maybe we could do this instead for a horror theme, or that for a horror theme. Anything, any sort of input would be better than just sitting there complaining. I told him that if he didn't want to play, he could leave. But that the story was taking place in the haunted house, and that if he wanted to do something other than pretend to stand in front of a house all night, he'd have to go inside. He ended up not saying anything and just got up and left. I'm not sure if he'll be back for another game, and I'm honestly not sure what caused this. Up until this point, he seemed to be having fun, and there were never any issues like this. After he left, the other players and I agreed we'll give him some space before reaching out, and that we'd pause the game until then. I'm honestly not sure if I want to continue this story either at this point. This left a really bad taste in my mouth. It just sucks because I did put a lot of work into it, and I think the actual haunting presence is really unique. Thankfully, there is an update to this story, so before I give my full thoughts and end my rant about this whole thing and Max how frustrating he is, let's go ahead and get to the update for the post. I've spoken to Max to try to figure out what the problem was. I know a lot of people were telling me to just drop him, but we're all friends outside this as well. So that really wasn't an option. I tried explaining again my side of the story in a less charged environment and asked him to tell me how he felt about it as well. Paraphrasing here, he basically told me that he tried to play the reluctant archetype and that it got away from him. It felt like everyone else was too eager to explore the house. He was trying to do things like investigate a library, build up going into the haunted house as more of a turning point for the story. Wow, Max, it would have been great if you spoke up about it, because so far you said you just railroaded me, DM. You didn't talk about the library or anything at all. You just said, stop railroading me. Man, would have been great if I spoke up a little bit about it. I mean, I know the feelings of like charge and stuff, like a hypercharged situation, but man, if only Max communicated the table or talked to the DM ahead of time, it probably would have solved all the issues, honestly. I did explain to him that he should have brought this up at session 0, because everyone else was seemingly on a different page than him, and he agreed. Told him that if he wanted his character to do other things, he should have actually made that choice. I never stopped him from exploring the yard, saying he wanted to explore the library to find info in the house, etc. Because I'm not going in isn't actually a suggestion. It's just a rejection of what everyone else wanted to do and felt obstructive rather than savvy or anything else. He said he just really felt trapped by the character he chose and didn't know how to really express that, which turned to frustration and embarrassment, hence the outburst. We both agreed to handle miscommunications like this out of character immediately from now on, something I'll do with other players as well if it ever comes up. I was reluctant to do that because I thought I could avoid it and not have to interrupt this story, thinking I knew what he wanted from me. I know better now, of course. Hindsight is truly 2020. Lastly, I will continue this campaign with the other 3 players. Max said he would feel uncomfortable rejoining for this campaign, but that he'd love to be back for the next one, and I agreed. Thanks for everyone's input. Well, I'm glad things worked out, but I mean, like, at the end of the day, Max really should communicate. Like, as a DM, you can't be expected to read everyone's minds. As a player, you can't be expected to read your DM's mind, but you can't expect your DM to read your mind either. Communication will literally solve a lot of these issues. If you were to talk, and to maybe talk in private, or talk out a game and stuff like that, maybe you would have an easier time understanding one another, and Max could actually communicate on what he intended to do rather than just saying, I'm not going in. Because him saying, I'm not going in, I'm not saying, it's not happening, there's no way you're gonna pull me in, is basically just him saying, no, DM, I'm not gonna follow your thing. But instead he should have said, hey DM, could I go do this instead? Hey DM, could I do that instead? Hey DM, could I talk to you out in the hall real quick about the game and stuff? Just want to give it a little chit chat. Or like, can we move to a different voice chat, or give a real quick call and stuff, talk about the game and stuff. If you were to communicate even a little bit, it might have been a lot easier instead of just having this outburst and having this awkward moment of like, I'm not doing it, I'm not going in, you're railroading me. I mean, let's be honest, sometimes you need to railroad the party in order to get them to explore this one thing you want them to see. Sometimes your players may not be able to see it immediately and be like, well, I don't know if I'm supposed to go here or there. The DM is not trying to hurt the player's experience, he's trying to lead them to the story they agreed to do. But at the end of the day, at least they talked and they communicated about it, and they decided that probably need to approach the situation a little bit better next time on both ends. And I hope Max gets to participate in your games in the future, for real. I honestly think it would be great to see Max join in and be part of your games in the future. I wish you the best, DM, I wish Max the best, and I honestly hope you have a lot of fun playing in the future games together. And with that, that's going to be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales tomorrow. Bye-bye.